of frustration, full of despair. From years of hurt, disappointment, and relegation. Two British football fans have had enough. Canary bird Elliot Holman and wanderer Henry Hewitt are in search of glory, pride, passion, in search of silverware. And they found Major League Soccer.
Oh, it's warm in here, I tell you. Welcome along to Season 4, Episode 7 of the MLS UK show. I'm a very sweaty Elliot Holman.
And I'm a very hot Henry Hewitt.
Modest as always. Thank you for listening to this ridiculous podcast in a room that's not designed for heat of this kind. It's never this hot in the UK. What's going on?
Yeah, we should explain that for our North American viewers and listeners that it is currently about 30 degrees. Don't know what that is in Fahrenheit. We use Celsius, don't we, here in the UK? But yeah, it's very warm. It's just very hot. And when you designed this garage/studio, you thought about February or December, the start and the end of the season. You didn't think that it was going to be this hot. So I just wish that I could afford to hire my wife, who's a makeup artist, to get some anti-shine on us today.
There's not enough.
So if there's ever a plug to watch us on YouTube, please do it because, yeah, we're both very sweaty.
Or don't, I think is probably the message, to be fair. Yeah, when I sorted this room out, I installed a heater because it's always so cold. Didn't really bargain on the 30-degree UK summer, which will last 2 days. Just so happens to be the day we're recording.
Yeah, well, we've got the door open. We've got a fan going, so if you can hear something in the background, that's what that is. And yeah, I know the last few episodes have been touching an hour. I think this one, we're probably going to have to be around 50 minutes or else we will both faint. 15
minutes? Yeah, that sounds good to me. Just want to address something, by the way. We promised in the last episode that we'd talk about the Euros.
Yeah.
Didn't come home. There you go. We talked about it.
Yeah, that's all we're going to say on the matter. What has come home, though, we want to say thanks to Mark from Last Word on Soccer. He was on episode 2 of this season, Austin fan, talking to you. He sent us some stickers. Now, I didn't know he'd sent us these. These have been on your kitchen table for the last couple of months.
What happens is I got really excited because it had an American stamp on the envelope. So as soon as they arrived, I opened them straight away. And I looked at all these stickers and I was like, wow, this is so good. And it was after our first episode where we spoke to Mark. And to be honest, since then, I just completely forgot about them and forgot to tell you. So sorry about
that. So with him being an Austin fan, I don't know if you can see on the camera. So there's Los Verdes and the Austin Anthem stickers. So they're quite cool. So we'll take them. He's also, because he's a big Nottingham Forest fan, sent us a lot of stickers for the Nottingham Forest US sort of supporters club. Now we are recording this in Derby, so Mark, we won't be keeping these. We'll be sticking them on lampposts and and buildings, and we'll go over to Pride Park and stick them on. So thank you very much for these. Really appreciate it. So we're gonna have to get straight into it because there's so much to talk about today. Of course, last weekend, as an Atlanta fan, I've got a lot to say.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to this specifically. Shall we start, as always, though, with the game with the change of name?
Yes.
Okay. This is a player that I don't even need to go on their Wikipedia for, I'll be honest. I'm very aware of their work. However, if you're hearing this for the first time, it's a player that's played in the UK and in MLS as well. Okay, so they've played on both sides of the pond. I'm going to read you their career path. You've got to work out who it is, okay? Are you ready?
Yes.
Okay. This player started their career in 2008 at FC Dallas. I mean, who doesn't start their career at FC Dallas these days, to be fair? They played there for 4 years, 98 appearances, and 19 goals.
Okay.
They also played for Stoke City, Barnsley, Birmingham, and then moved back to MLS, and they've played for a trio of rivals I think it's disgusting, personally. It should never be allowed.
So there's your clue. Okay, I think I know, but I'm going to leave it till the end of the episode. If you know, if you watch it on YouTube, all you need to do is comment on this video. It leaves a timestamp of where you're up to. As we always say, if you go to the end and then come back and tell us who it is, then we will know. We'll know you've cheated. If you're listening on your podcast provider, just tweet us at MLS UK Show. Yeah, I think I'm quite confident on this one. I think it's quite an easy one. He's become quite of a cult hero, hasn't he? And he was a cult hero for some in MLS and not quite for others.
Cult hero to you?
Surely
not.
No, I don't think he did enough for my team to become a cult hero. But you know, I think the look of him, I'd put him down as an MLS cult.
I think if he'd have stayed at one of the clubs, probably would have become a cult hero, maybe on the bench. But I think then moving to two rivals maybe moves them away from the hero status. Well,
if you know, let us know. Right, it's time to talk about last weekend in MLS.
The MLS UK Show.
Yes, as you can see, I am sporting yet another MLS jersey. I've got the 4th of July special Orlando City jersey. We will literally buy anything with a badge on, won't we? And if you are just like us, then make sure you head to soccer90.com. They are your one-stop shop for all the MLS club jerseys, all the gear, hats, scarves, all the international shirts as well. If you've seen some during the Euros maybe or in the Gold Cup and you're like, I could do with that. Soccer90.com.
Yes, I've noticed Italy stuff on there. I will not be buying that, but there's lots of Premier League stuff on there as well. So if you are a supporter of Arsenal, Chelsea, Liverpool, Man City, Man United or Tottenham, they've got your shirts as well. And remember, if you put MLS UK at the checkout in the discount code, you get 25% off too.
There's no Norwich City stuff on there. I've already checked.
Elliot Holman, Henry Hewitt. MLS UK Show.
Okay, we've been outside, we've got some fresh air, still very sweaty, but at least we can now go through this next section. And I'll be honest with you, I kind of need a fresh air before talking about this. It's last weekend in MLS, and there's only one place to kick off. It's Atlanta United, head coachless Atlanta United. It seems that every episode now we're starting with this, because last time was Toronto.
Yeah.
And there's two main things that they have in common. Toronto and Atlanta United before sacking their head coach, and I guess it was leaving their best player, their lead striker, out of the team.
Yeah, we saw it with Altidore, of course, and now Martinez at Atlanta. What's your take on it, first of all? Is there anything Martinez can do on or off the pitch that means you don't pick him first?
Honestly, no. This is the thing with Martinez, is that how I see Atlanta at the moment is that they have gone so far away from that MLS Cup winning team. Like, I think in every position, and even in Martinez, but he's been injured for a year, they've got worse. Head coach, they've got worse. Every position, and even the players that are still there, Brad Guzan, he's got worse. So Martinez is that one hope for us Atlanta fans that we can actually do something. And the fact that he wasn't playing, he's one of the best players in the league, and you have to play him. You have to. And this is the thing. I know in previous episodes I've defended Heinze and I've said that I can see what's happening with Atlanta. When he fell out with Martinez, I just felt, that's it. Your time's coming to an end. I can't see a way back. And then seeing that Martinez was actually at the ground against New England and not playing, the fans made it clear. Martinez is the big dog, and you can't not play him.
Is it healthy for a player to have that much of an impact? And by the way, I agree. I think he should, because I think he's the best thing that's ever happened to Atlanta. Is it healthy for somebody to have that much power?
He seems well liked. If he wasn't well liked, then no, he's not healthy. But he seems really well liked. He seems to love the club, so I think that's fine. But yeah, I think if it was him and he has an arrogance, of course he does. But if he had an arrogance that meant that he felt he was better than the other players, or felt he was a bigger part of a squad, then no, that's not healthy. But he seems to get on. I mean, you saw the amount of former players at the weekend that were tweeting or Instagramming sort of responses to it,
Yeah.
all saying he's the king and he's well liked. And I'm sorry for Heinze, it's a shame that he's lost his job now, but there was only ever going to be one winner in that.
You got to choose your battles.
You have, yeah, and unfortunately for him, he chose one that he was never going to win. I think literally any other player in that team, he would win that battle. But Martinez, you ain't winning the battle. And then after the game, I think it was after the game, against New England, he then mentioned the front office, and he said, I've had issues before with front offices, and I've come through it. And that, when I saw that, I thought, it would not surprise me if you were gone in 24 hours, and he was. So I'm wearing my Happy Days shirt in response to it. And I just hope now that Atlanta can move on and do something right. Like, as an outsider, who should Atlanta be going for? What sort of head coach? Because let's face it, they got the first one right, but it's 2 failures in a row now.
It's tough, isn't it? The trouble is that they've set this precedent of going for big names. Like Heinze, for me, I know he does have coaching experience, but for me, it wasn't the right hire. You can find me saying that on the podcast before. I don't believe... I want to see someone come to Atlanta who knows MLS. That's not their style, but I think that's what they need. I think somebody needs to kind of help them build that roster back again. I don't think the roster's good enough.
No, I agree. And you look at LA Galaxy. They went down a certain route for years. It weren't working. Now they get Greg Vanney in.
That's the only thing I said at the start of the season that's actually been right.
Yeah.
Is Greg Vanney to LA Galaxy will do the job.
So I agree. I think Atlanta needs to go down that route. We need someone with MLS experience. That's... The thing is now for Atlanta, I know they've put a sort of a deputy head coach in, but whereas in the last episode I kind of wrote off Toronto's season, you look at Atlanta, I mean, they've only lost 1 home game for a start, but also they are within 4 points of the playoffs. Their season can be ignited. They've got 2 games coming up this week. They win them both, they could be in the playoffs.
It feels like a fork in the road for me. I don't know how you feel about this, but I think obviously the hire is really important. But right now, this is it almost does. If that's going to take 3 weeks, it's not soon enough. This is the point where they need to start picking up points and getting some kind of run together, because I think the longer it goes on, the more the season is just going to sort of fade away into not nothing, but Atlanta are used to success.
Yeah, well, we saw it last year, didn't we, when De Boer was fired the season then. They was in a similar position. They weren't that far off the playoffs. They didn't hire someone. They went with an easy option of a deputy from the backroom staff, and it just didn't work out, and they finished very low down the table. Atlanta are a big team in MLS. They're a big name. They can't be doing this too many times. They've got to be making the playoffs. And as well for Martinez. Martinez has said that this is his last season at Atlanta. Allegedly said that. If they get good head coaching and then they bond together, they go in the playoffs, Martinez could stay. But I think if they don't hire someone, they just leave it to someone in the backroom staff, end up finishing 10th again, he's going to go, because Martinez deserves better than that.
Give me a club in Europe that Martinez could be successful at. That's not a loaded question.
No. Funnily enough, my mate Jordan, I was texting him on Saturday night because he was watching the game as well, and he asked me that, and my first thought was Spain, and I just thought Valencia or Villarreal.
Oh, okay.
So a team in Spain who's not Real Madrid, Barcelona. I don't think he'd suit them personally because he's a very confident guy. And he ain't going to be number 1 in those teams. So a team that's going to probably finish around 6th, 7th, 5th. So Villarreal, Valencia for me. But we'll see. Hopefully it don't come to that. Hopefully he stays.
Could he do it in the Premier League?
I think the Premier League will be a bit too fast. Martinez, I feel he's a great in the box, but I feel he needs just a bit of time just to sort of analyse things, look around, and I think the Premier League, you don't get that time. So I don't. Whereas Almiron's got his pace where he can come in and he can have his thinking time while he's running with the ball. I don't think Martinez will do it in the Premier League.
Do you know, this is not something I ever expected to say, and it's come into my mind, and I almost feel stupid saying it.
No, he's not signing for Orlando.
No, he's not signing for Orlando. 4 months, a few months ago, I wouldn't have even dreamt of saying this. I think that Southgate formation that we saw from England in the Euros is pretty much the only thing that could work for Martinez over here. Because he will just sit in the box.
Yeah.
Let's be honest, his positioning and close range finishing is what makes Martinez so lethal, right? But he needs the service, but he also isn't going to track back at all.
No.
He's not like Harry Kane, he's not going to track back. But when we had those two sitting midfielders, Rice and Phillips, with the wingers providing the service, for me, that's Martinez all over.
Yeah, no, I would agree with that. So, but
is he English? Can we steal him?
But then again, what Premier League team? It was kind of seen as being a bit defensive. I don't see one of the big teams playing it. He will have to sign for a team that is looking to finish around 13th, 14th. And
can I interest you in Burnley?
I've been to Burnley, and Jose Martinez. You don't want to go to Burnley. Right, elsewhere this weekend, Red Bulls in into Miami. That was postponed, so we'll move on from that. I want to talk about the Montreal-Cincinnati game, arguably the best game at the weekend. First of all, can we just say, how great was it to see Montreal playing back at Sabuto again?
Yeah, the Canadian teams going home for me is a massive moment because it's not sat well with me.
No.
The whole thing just seemed like a bit of a mess. It seemed rushed. I don't know why they couldn't get special permission to play there before. We've seen it with sport all over the world now, is that teams have moved in bubbles or leagues have moved in bubbles. We made it work when we had the MLS's back tournament, and there's very few cases.
Yeah.
I understand. There's no need to explain it to me. I understand why it didn't happen, but I just think maybe it's literally been 3 months. We could have done that 3 months ago.
Yeah, well, that's the problem. It's working with different countries, and I mean, we've even had it here with England and Wales. Technically, we're over UK, but England and Wales, different companies, different countries. Different rules. So yeah, I'm glad that they're back. Hopefully Vancouver can get back as well. Great to see it at Sabuto. They've not been there really for 2 years because they started last year at the Olympic Stadium. So it's nice to see. I felt a nice sort of. It was kind of like
normality.
Normality. Retro MLS, seeing Montreal actually playing at home, and what a game as well.
9 goals.
9 goals. Is this the most Cincinnati thing? The fact that they were 4-2 up.
Yeah.
Never scored 4 in MLS before, and they still lose.
And do you know what? I don't think it would have happened if Montreal weren't playing at home.
No, I don't think it would have.
I think, in a 9-goal game, it's always going to go to the home team. I don't know if you could find many examples where the away side has somehow rallied and got a 5th goal. So, yeah, it is the most Cincinnati thing to ever happen. I agree. But also, I think it happens because Montreal are at home.
Yeah, one time I do remember, Norwich 4, Liverpool 5.
Do you know, I was thinking about this game earlier. It's so bizarre that you mentioned that because we've got Liverpool the first game of the season, and I was thinking, remember when Adam Lallana scuffed that shot? Anyway, I'm not bitter.
Wanyama was pulling the strings for Montreal. He's
Love him.
A big name for him, and they click when he's clicking. And to see him after the 5th goal hugging the head coach as well, I think they were just a nice vibe around Montreal, weren't they?
When they signed Wanyama, I know it was a while ago now, my initial thought was one of your best players is already a central defensive midfielder. What are they doing? Fine to get cover for Pierre, but what are you doing? But playing 2 together, and I don't mind it. I'm here for it.
Player of the weekend, I'll give you one choice. Mukhtar for Nashville.
No, I'm not having
it. What a game he had. First of all, Chicago, I mean, losing 5-1 to Nashville. I know Wiki wasn't there for personal reasons. Hopefully he's all right. He wouldn't have been all right after seeing the score at half-time.
It's not going to have helped things, is it?
No, 4-0 ascending off. But Mukhtar, officially the fastest hat-trick in MLS history. He was doing a lot of saluting in the game. So, I mean, Nashville, we've said a lot about him playing a lot of games.
Great little club.
Great little club, as you said. But this performance, I know Chicago haven't been great, but this was a dominant display, wasn't it?
Yeah, this is the Nashville that we could see week in, week out with just a little more experience within that roster. I think that's where I'm at with it. I think we talked about Austin and how they've done really well in building a roster that's got experience, but it's exciting, it's attacking. There's strengths all over. And I think Nashville is very, very close to being a team. I love to watch them, by the way. Even before this result, I love to watch them play. Everything about them is pleasing on the eye, and I'm here for Nashville.
Yeah, and it says a lot as well. You know, there's a lot of clamour for soccer-specific stadiums, and yeah, we agree with that. But Nashville are doing all right in their NFL stadium, and they make the most of it because they just watching. I mean, it does help when you're winning 5-1, but it looked a great atmosphere.
Yeah, and you know, when we look at Chicago as well, on the last podcast, I said it's embarrassing to lose to Chicago. Orlando City then went and lost to Chicago. And I stand by it. I think it was embarrassing. I don't mind admitting that. I think it was embarrassing, but I think, you know, that's one of the few games Orlando have lost this season. It's I think it's bizarre more than anything. And we posted a clip of the podcast on Twitter where I said, it's embarrassing losing to Chicago. And then thanks for that. You put the goals scored against Orlando with the video. And a lot of Chicago fans, mainly Chicago Fire UK, in my mentions on Twitter with the clown emoji.
Well, you are wearing a red and white top today.
That's just for you guys. Yeah, the clown emoji, I think, little bit excessive, to be fair. But I hold my hands up. I was wrong. Okay, Chicago are not an embarrassing club. Just to run through, 5-1, wasn't it? Nashville 5, Chicago 1.
I totally agree with them sending you the clown emoji. I've got to put that on record. Elsewhere,
5-1.
Elsewhere, Seattle's streak is over. Minnesota 1-0 against Seattle. I didn't tell you this, but I appeared on BBC Radio Manchester last Friday.
Did you?
They were looking to do a feature on foreign leagues and spoke to me about MLS. And this was my game of the weekend. I said, Seattle unbeaten. And this could be a Minnesota win, partly because of the Wonderwall reference. It could give me a chance to get that in there as well, the Oasis song. But I was right in the end. Minnesota 1-0.
I'm so glad that they found you, because can you imagine me on BBC Radio Manchester with this accent?
Well, they did say that. They said, we're going to talk MLS with Henry Hewitt from the MLS UK show.
Henry.
You may think that his accent would be North American, and I come on and go, yeah, you're all right. But Minnesota won, goal at the end. Few injuries for Seattle, and I know there's a few players at the Gold Cup as well. They've had a few difficult results in recent weeks, but I mean, surely they've shown enough that they are contenders.
This is the difference, okay? So Orlando have had a little bit of a wobble, and I'm thinking, and the performances weren't great even when we were winning. The difference with Seattle is that they've looked so good all season. From the start, from that first week, they've looked so good, so strong. And I don't think you can look at Seattle and go, oh, they're not gonna do it now. They'll be absolutely fine.
Yeah, I need to point out because we have got the door open, there is a fly that's come in. So if the fly gets in shot, then that's what that is. So if the cameras go out of focus just for a moment, it is because a fly is flown in front of them.
This podcast gets more professional by the day.
Minnesota, they've kind of been hit and miss again, but I feel that they're starting to find the feet. This is a very good win for them. Yeah. They're into the playoff sort of positions now in the West, and we fancy that they should make the playoffs come the end of the season.
I don't feel like they drop out of the playoff positions now. I know it's very tight still, and I know it may be for a week or two, but I think overall, I think they're going to be absolutely fine. I just look at the teams outside, and I'm still backing Austin. So I know they're not in the playoffs, so I'm thinking someone's got to drop out for my prediction of Austin to come to ring true.
Who do you think? If you had to say, what is it, week 13, week 14? What would your prediction be?
I think Portland will be fine.
Yeah.
They've got the roster. Can't see Minnesota going anywhere. Colorado, do you know what? They're there on merit.
Yeah.
But still, and this is the untrained eye on Colorado. This is someone who can't stay up and watch every Colorado game because it's at stupid o'clock in the morning. You just feel like they're not at that level. And it's completely wrong. But you feel like they're the most likely not to be able to sustain it, because they don't have that history of consistently being up there. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. I mean, bear in mind, we've been doing this podcast. This is our 4th season. So you would say in the 4 years, apart from half of last season, Colorado have been very disappointing. I'm sure if we've been doing it for 8 years, we'd be looking back and going, oh, well, Colorado have done
with
quite
a different roster. Yeah.
So I like Colorado. I think they will stay in, actually. I think they've got a good head coach. They're playing good football at the moment. And I was going to talk about that game next, but not about Colorado. They drew 1-1 against San Jose. This is incredible. San Jose 9 without a win now, so they're struggling. However...
How is he still in the job?
Well, I'm not sure is your answer for that, especially when other sides are sacking the head coach. And I'll tell you what, we'll talk about the incident in that game in a moment. You look at Toronto and Atlanta.
Yeah.
Okay, 2 sides that have ambitions of winning MLS Cup. They have not had a great start and sacked the head coach. San Jose have sat there 9 without a win now. Is it because their ambitions aren't as high as the other 2 why Almeida's still in a job? Or is there something else there that you think, can they see him turning around? Because to be fair to him, he started quite well. For San Jose standards, he started quite well. So is he got that sort of money in the bank is why he's not been sacked yet?
I am a massive advocate for sticking with a coach. I think even if you're not having a great season, I think you can use that. I think the coach can use that and they can develop and take that into next season. I think that's even more true in MLS because there's no risk of relegation. So I understand why they wouldn't have pulled the trigger because we've seen peaks and troughs with San Jose since Almeida's been at the helm. Sometimes they're thrashing teams, sometimes they're getting heavily beaten. And I just think it's not going to take a lot to turn that team into someone who could consistently make the playoffs. And so I don't think there's a lot wrong, but I'm just starting to question how they can go that long without a win. Is there actually something on a personal level maybe that does need a change? Does that make sense?
Yeah, because if you look at streaks in MLS, as impressed as we have been about Seattle streak, when it is a streak without winning, that is alarming because as we know, MLS is very much like, it's very rare to put a run together because teams, we've seen Dallas beat New England in the last few weeks and, Seattle dropped points at home to, was it Vancouver as well? So, that is a concern. I don't know. I think San Jose... I mean, you look at them in the table at the moment and you just think, well, they're 11th in the table as a car for Almeida drives past us. They're not that far off the playoffs.
No.
And we know that they can get 2 wins this week and suddenly by the next time we're talking, we're getting memed again.
Talking. No wonder you were on Radio Manchester.
But yeah, I don't know with San Jose. I think, realistically, what are their aspirations are sneaking into the playoffs.
Yeah.
So
they're the ultimate try and get into the playoffs, and then it's knockout football, and anyone can beat anyone.
So in that case, they've not won in 9, but they're only 4 points off where they should be. Whereas Atlanta are 4 points off where their bare minimum is the playoffs. But more alarmingly for them, it's 14 points off New England in first. So we'll have to wait and see with San Jose. The longer it goes on, though, you can't. There's not many coaches that can go 10 games without a win and still be in a job. Right, we'll run through some of the other action because we've got lots to talk about today. Philadelphia beat DC United 2-1. But this game, I must admit, I didn't watch this game live. You were at Silverstone for the Formula 1, so you definitely didn't watch it live. I'm glad I didn't, and I feel sorry for both Philly Union UK and DC United UK, who got to the 86th minute. Then the game gets suspended because of a weather delay. The 86th minute.
Just carry on playing, or just call it.
They had to wait then, I think it was an hour or an hour and a half for them to finish the last 10 minutes, including stoppage time of the game. So, Philly won in the end. Columbus 2, New York City FC 1. Another Zelarayan free kick for Columbus. New York City FC.
Player.
They must have him in his nightmares lining up to in their nightmares lining up to take free kicks. Let's see, we've got Portland 1, FC Dallas 0. FC Dallas again created chances. Pappy in the first half, just not scoring goals at the moment. I want to end on the 2 LA teams and discuss them, but first, Toronto 1, Orlando 1. Toronto back at BMO Field was great, and Josie back as well, and he scored.
And do you know what? I can't take it away. I was pleased for him.
Yeah,
I was really pleased for him, and I always try and be fair. Like, I really think it was great to see Toronto back at BMO Field. I follow a lot of the club stuff on socials and on Instagram. It's just they're just driving up to the stadium and they're so excited. It's lovely to see. And Josie vindicated. Gets his goal. Maybe they deserve to win the game. Nani scored a penalty to get the draw. But Orlando have been tough to beat this year, and Toronto would have looked at that and gone, yeah, we'll take that.
Yeah, it is nice seeing all the fans, and I know each team apart from Vancouver, each team have had that sort of moment. We've seen that, we pay attention to it, and we love it. Just because me and you, Bolton and Norwich, will be having that moment, but first time back at the stadium.
3 weeks.
Yeah, so that'll be coming soon. So it's great to see. Let's finish then on the LA teams. LAFC, first of all, they beat RSL 2-1. I mean, they'll be wishing they could play RSL every week because that's the second win in a month against them. Carlos Vela and Rossi scored the goals for them.
It's like it's 2018, isn't it?
We keep on seeing glimpses of them two back together and performing, and then it just doesn't quite happen. It's kind of like a once a month, once every 6 weeks kind of thing. I'm going to ask you this question again. I've probably asked it before. Are we going to start are we going to see that old Rossi and Vela again?
Pretty sure they've only played once since you last asked me. I don't see how it can't happen again. I just think, yes, maybe there's been factors. I know Vea's been missing for a lot of this season for a start. So maybe we're beginning to see something. I don't see how they can be in the same team and it not be a success. It's like if you brought Almiron back to Atlanta. I genuinely think that you would literally be in the top 3 immediately. Like, we just love to see it. Teams that you don't even support, teams you don't even care about. I don't mean I don't care about LAFC, but just in general.
Yeah.
When you see players that just work off each other so nicely, so well, and I had it this year with Norwich. We had it at Atlanta. I don't know if I've ever had it at Orlando. It's a joy to watch, and that's when you will get up at 3 a.m. and watch an LAFC game because you're like, this is going to be entertaining.
Yeah. And finally, it was our MLS UK Show Championship game, Vancouver v LA Galaxy.
Yeah.
Last episode, Dallas were our champions. LA Galaxy beat them 3-1. And then they've now lost the title. It was on the line at the Rio Tinto Stadium. And Vancouver came from behind, a proper, as we say here in the UK, a game of two halves, this one. And they came from behind 2-1. Vancouver wins. So Vancouver are now our MLS UK Show champions.
And who'd have predicted that?
Well, I mean, Orlando have had it, so every team probably has it. And we'll have to make I do keep track of it, and we will have to see if we can get
held
every
it the
team.
longest.
Who held it? But I think this year, no one's really had it for longer than 2 or 3 weeks, so we could actually have it where every team at some point will have it.
Orlando, I'm going to have it again, I don't think.
And Atlanta, I don't think have had it all season either.
MLS UK Show with Elliot Holman and Henry Hewitt.
Okay, now, I have got a new game for you.
I'm excited about this.
I wanted to do this last week, and then I thought, no, I don't want to make it all about England, and then the pressure of the final was coming, and turns out it wouldn't have mattered anyway. So it's loosely based on England, if I'm honest, but I've given it an MLS spin.
Okay.
It's called 3 Lies on the Show.
Right, okay. Is there 3 lions on the show?
Very loosely based on this. So instead of 3 lines on a shirt, it's 3 lies on the show. I'm going to give you 5 facts about, could be about players in MLS, it could be about teams in MLS, and you've got to work out which 2 are true and which 3 are lies.
Okay.
Okay?
Yeah.
Okay, here's your first one. Miami owner and former Galaxy star David Beckham has a tattoo of his wife Victoria's name in Sanskrit, but it's actually spelt incorrectly.
Right, okay.
How do you feel about that?
David Beckham used to have a reputation in this country.
For being a bit thick.
Yeah, about 20 years ago for being a bit stupid, so that could be true.
Okay. Number 2. We've all seen the famous penalties MLS used to take from the halfway line, but they were brought in because they decided to never have a draw. Games were not allowed to finish in a draw.
That I could say could be true because I know that's a thing in a lot of other sports in the US. So, okay.
Yeah. Number 3. Before leaving for Austin FC, Diego Fagundes said he would only sign a new contract if the NE Revs board agreed to evaluate or reevaluate the club's badge because he strongly disliked it.
No, I mean, it is very pro-American, isn't it? So, maybe, but no, okay, let's say the other two.
Okay. Number 4, Bradley Wright Phillips earns more dollars than 10 MLS coaches put together.
Wow. I'm not that confident on that one. Go on, what's the last one?
And the last one, James Sands, NYCFC?
Yeah.
Been playing for the States as well. James Sands' real name is actually Double Barrel.
Right.
And it's James White Sands. Golden Sands would be better, but
would.
White Sands.
I am going to go with my the two true ones.
Yeah.
I think that the penalty one is true, just going off other American sports. They don't like a draw. And I'm going to say that...
The price is on. Play along at home.
I don't think Fagundes and any Revs would be true.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think...
I love this game. This is great.
The two that I'm going on is either White Sands or Beckham.
Okay.
And
Take your time.
No, I'm going to go with Beckham. I think he's got Victoria's name but spelt wrong.
Okay, so you're going for number 1 and number 2.
Yes, they're the facts.
I can tell you that the MLS penalties that we used to see were brought in because they didn't want draws ever.
Yes.
And I can tell you, David Beckham did spell his wife's name wrong.
Yes. I'm actually good at this game.
Good work.
Can we keep it?
Good work. Let us know if you want us to play along again next week. Maybe you've got a suggestion of a fact or a lie that you can make up about MLS teams or MLS players or coaches, and we'll have another round of 3 lies on the show next week.
A feature that is a well-known and loved feature, especially this side of a desk,
Can't be on this podcast.
is Henry's Guide to North America.
Oh, that one.
Yeah, so last time we did Aberdeen, which of course is not in North America, but hopefully Christian Ramirez knows a bit more about his new home city. We're going back to North America this time. I put a poll out on Twitter, and our listeners/followers have decided that this week is going to be Henry's Guide to New England.
New England, of course, famous for Fagundes and its country music.
Hey, Elliot.
Hey, Henry.
Did you know that New England is not a state or a city? It's actually a region of the US comprising of 6 states, those being Connecticut, Maine, Massachusetts, New Hampshire, Rhode Island, and Vermont.
Do you know, I couldn't have named them all, but I did know this because I got so confused when I first got into MLS. I didn't understand what was going on there.
As you can imagine, with the name New England, there are actually quite a few places that have British place names. There's a Manchester in New Hampshire, a Norwich in Connecticut.
Yes!
That is nicknamed the Rose of New England.
Love it.
And there is a Bolton in Massachusetts.
Have we done this whole thing wrong?
Why?
Are we meant to be supporting New England Revolution after all this time? Because I'm just looking at the standings. I can get on board with that.
Yeah, actually, yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
So,
Orlando, never heard of
it. New England Revolution, as we know, play at the Gillette Stadium. It's a fly, just goes into my face. Ignore that.
They have them in New England as well.
They play at the Gillette Stadium, that's in Massachusetts, and he's also home to New England Patriots, who have won the Super Bowl 6 times.
Yeah, I support them as well.
Yeah, so their head coach, Bill Belichick, has been there for like 20 years. He's kind of like the Sir Alex Ferguson of NFL. It's also home to the Boston Red Sox in baseball, the Boston Celtics in basketball, and the Boston Bruins in ice hockey.
I support all them if they're any good anyway. I don't know.
I think the Red Sox went years. Was it Red Sox? It might have been Red Sox. Sox. There was a baseball team that went years without winning it, and it was apparently a curse that had been put on them like 100 years ago.
I think that happened to Bolton.
Yeah, that is still happening to Boston. That's what we'll say anyway. Boston Subway was the first in the Western Hemisphere, and it started running in 1897. That's because they were desperate to beat New York to it, because there's a bit of a rivalry.
Okay.
They didn't open theirs until 1904. Film history, Jaws and The Departed, set in New England, as well as Family Guy. That's in Quahog, Rhode Island, which is in New England. Harvard University is in Massachusetts, and there are 92 kilometers of bookshelves at Harvard University.
Wow.
There's only 4% of applicants as well getting to Harvard, so I don't think me and you would ever have a chance.
Right.
Food, it's famous for its seafood, so clam chowder, lobster rolls, fried clams, and a clam bake, which is clams, lobsters, and corn all cooked in the fire pit.
Wow, that's not up my street, I'll be honest.
Famous New Englanders include, and there's quite a few as you can imagine with it being 6 states, but there's got former presidents John F. Kennedy, George Bush, and George W. Bush.
Wow.
You've got Matt Damon, Mark Wahlberg, Conan O'Brien, Seth MacFarlane, who did Family Guy.
It all makes sense now.
Uma Thurman, Steve Carell, Anna Kendrick, the wrestler Triple H, he's from New England.
Oh.
And you've got authors Stephen King and Dr. Seuss as well, who did Canada.
Wow.
And finally, Happy Hours, a band in Boston, Massachusetts. Boston is the biggest city in New England, by the way, and have been since 1984. And Boston gets its nickname Beantown through the popularity of baked beans.
Wow. Can I just say, this is pleasure. This whole feature has been an absolute pleasure, because it's so lovely to hear someone try and say Boston, Massachusetts so many times.
It's so difficult.
Massachusetts.
So there you go. That is Henry's Guide to New England.
Where do we go next? Is it Nashville?
No.
Because, you know, famous for country music.
Nashville is last, we've told you that. Well, I'll let you choose. We've got LA, Seattle, Dallas, Houston, Montreal, Toronto, Chicago, Nashville.
Can we go LA? I've been to LA a couple of times, and I want to, I might be able to challenge you on a few things.
All right, yeah. So next time on the show is LA. I need to check Montreal. I think we've done Montreal. I don't know why that's made it into my list, but not many to go now. We're on the home straight, but next time it'll be Henry's Guide to LA.
Famous, of course, for its country music.
Nope.
Elliot Holman, Henry Hewitt, MLS UK show.
So it's time to have a look at what's happening this weekend in MLS. But before we do, we need to catch up with our predictions. As we said on the last episode, I'm winning 3-0 at the moment. So how do you think you did?
Terry, you've remembered to talk about it. Whenever you win, you don't remember to talk about it. So you probably won again.
You did okay. You got 20 points. And I was 10 behind. But then correctly predicted the LA Galaxy would be FC Dallas 3-1. So it ended a draw. So it remains 3-0 to me.
I don't want to play anymore.
So we go again. But before this weekend, there are matches in the week. You've got Vancouver v Houston Dynamo, Columbus versus Nashville, Miami versus New England, New York City versus Montreal, Toronto versus New York Red Bulls, Chicago versus DC United, FC Cincinnati versus Atlanta, SKC versus San Jose, Colorado versus FC Dallas, Real Salt Lake versus LA Galaxy, and Portland versus LAFC. They're all on Thursday evening. Sorry, the Vancouver one is on Wednesday evening / Thursday morning here in the UK. It's very confusing. The MLS UK show Championship is on the line in that one. The rest are on, Wednesday evening, Thursday morning here in the UK. And then on Thursday evening / Friday morning here in the UK, we've got Orlando versus Philadelphia and Austin versus Seattle.
Top of the table clash.
Yeah, Austin v Seattle.
No.
Saturday, July 24th. This is where we're going to start with our predictions.
Okay.
Kicking us off at the Benz. It's Atlanta versus Columbus Crew.
This is actually tough. This is. I'm gonna go for a Columbus narrow victory, just because of the whole coach situation. It's not that I necessarily think they're a better side. I think it'll be 2-1 Columbus.
Yeah, I don't see this being a high-scoring game. I think Martinez won't play against Cincinnati, but will come back for this one because it's a home game. I think he will score, but I I think until Atlanta sort the head coach out, I don't see the form changing personally. So I'm going to go 1-1. I think they'll get a draw.
I was so close to going 1-1, and I knew you would. Chicago versus Toronto.
I mean, we don't know the situation with Wiki as we record this, whether he's going to be back or whether he's still not going to be there. Chicago at home, okay, they've got support behind them. I just think Toronto have turned the corner. I know I said on the last episode that I didn't see them turning the corner for the rest of the season. Turns out they have. So I think they'll continue it. I think with Josie back, I think they'll win 2-1.
Whereas I would give Toronto less of a chance, but after all the abuse I got, I'm going to go for a Toronto 2-0 win.
Minnesota versus Portland at the Allianz Field at 1 a.m. on Sunday morning here in the UK. How do you see this one going?
It's a tough one because I feel like Portland are a little lower than I'd expect to see them currently. Minnesota, maybe around where we'd expect. I'm going to go for a 2-2 draw.
I think Minnesota will continue their good form. They beat Seattle last weekend. I think they'll go for part 2 of the Cascadia sort of week they're having. So I think they'll win. I think it'll be 3-2 actually to Minnesota.
Okay. FC Dallas are at home to LA Galaxy.
FC Dallas at the moment, they're struggling, aren't they? So I think LA Galaxy will win. I think it'll be 2-0.
Okay, yeah, I'm going for a Galaxy win. 1-0. Yeah, 1-0. I'm settled. 1-0.
Okay. Nashville versus FC Cincinnati.
Great little club. I actually love both of these. Both of these are just great little teams.
However, one of the little teams is at home and performing really well and scoring lots of goals. The other is away and conceding a lot of goals.
3-0 Nashville.
I think 4-0.
Ooh. It's bold. Okay, RSL versus Colorado. I'm going to say this is the game I've watched the least, the fixture I've seen the least since I've been watching MLS, because it's always on at stupid o'clock, or there's always like the UK TV will always want to show an LA Galaxy game instead, or LAFC. However, I feel like a Colorado win here. I'm going to go 2-0.
All right, okay. It's a derby match. Shout out to Albert Rusnak, by the way, who scored a goal on his birthday.
No one cares.
I think RSL will win. I think this will be a close one too. I think 2-1 to RSL.
Okay, San Jose versus Houston Dynamo. 3 a.m. for us over here. For me, this is a difficult one to call.
Yeah.
I'm going to go for a draw. I'm going to go 2-2.
Potential MLS UK Show Championship game. San Jose can't lose forever, so I think they'll win. I think it'll be a 3-1.
And just when you thought it couldn't get any later, 3:30 kickoff in the morning for LAFC versus Vancouver. I'm piling on LAFC here. I'm jumping on my Rossi Vea bandwagon, and I'm going to go for goals 3-1.
Another potential MLS UK Show Championship game, and if it is one, I think we'll have new champions. LAFC, definite win. Vancouver doing all right, so I don't think in previous years that have just gone a 4-0.
Oh, you just write it off.
I think it could be another tight one. LAFC 2-1.
Okay. New England Revolution versus Montreal. I actually think this is tough to call, because Montreal have now got that little bit of confidence that was separating them from being a really, really good side. So I have to back New England, just because hopefully if I back them, they'll lose. I'm thinking from an Orlando perspective here. So I'm going to go for a narrow 1-0 New England victory.
Ironically, you could probably put New England in the same bracket of what you've just said about Montreal there, but they now have got the confidence. And I think they'll win. It's home game, New England Revolution playing well at the moment. I think it'll be, 3-0. I think New England 3-0.
Okay, finally, New York City versus Orlando City. I'll let you go first.
I think, Orlando. I would fancy Orlando to win this one. It's down to be at the Yankee Stadium, so New York City back at home. They do all right at home, so not as clear cut, but I think a 1-0 Orlando.
Orlando are playing on Friday morning, 12:30 a.m. here, and then again Sunday night, so that could be a factor. So don't want to predict a loss, so I'm going to go for a 1-1 tie.
There are actually more matches on Sunday evening / Monday morning. It's Inter Miami versus Philadelphia.
Where's that?
It's on the next page. Inter Miami versus Philadelphia Union. What do you think?
Oh, it's because it's Monday, technically. I fancy a Philly win, 2-0.
Yeah, you've got to fancy Philly on this one. Inter Miami not playing well at all. They now find themselves bottom of the East, which I can assure our Miami viewers and listeners that Elliot is taking no joy in.
It's horrible to see someone bottom of the league. Worse than Chicago's bad, isn't it?
I think Philadelphia win. They're in good form, so 2-1 Philadelphia. DC United, New York Red Bulls, grudge match. Bit of one anyway in the past, still is. If you go off what DC UK and RBNY UK, their banter they have on social media, check them out. Check out all the MLS UK supporters groups. What do you think?
Home advantage here for me. I think 1-0 DC.
Yeah, DC at home.
Lasada ball.
Yeah, Lasada ball. I think because of Lasada ball, they'll score more than one. I think 3-2.
Oh, he's gone big. He's gone big.
Seattle versus SKC. Huge game at the top of the West. Seattle, this will be a big game to get back into some farming.
Yeah, Kansas, of course, 3 points behind. Sorry, Sporting Kansas City. Got told off for calling them Kansas.
Yep.
Slap on wrist. 3 points behind, so need the win. Do you know what? I'm going to go for it.
Oh, yeah.
I'm going to go for it. 2-1.
I was tempted to go SKC as well. I think Seattle, I'm going to go with a draw, but I'm going to go 1-1. But Seattle missing a few players who are in the Gold Cup. Few injuries. It's not as clear cut. Yeah, I'm going to go 1-1. Shout out as well, Canada and USA will be playing that night as well in the Gold Cup. So good luck to if you're supporters of those countries. And that's it for the predictions for this week. Hopefully for your sake and for the integrity of the show and just to make things interesting, I hope you win. If you don't win this time, my next predictions are going to all be 6-0.
Wow. Okay.
But then I'll probably just choose the right team to win 6-0 and win based on the 5 points.
I can't win whatever I do. Confidence is down.
If you want to play at home, if you get the right outcome of a match, say a match is going to be 2-2, it ends 2-2, you get 10 points. If you say 2-2 and it ends 1-1 for getting a draw, you get 5 points. And obviously 0 if you don't get it right. Right, at the end of each episode, we give you a key word to use on the ratings. So if you're kind enough to leave us a rating on your podcast provider, if you type this keyword anywhere in the rating or in the subject, then we will definitely read it out on the next episode. So what do you think it should be this time?
It's got to be Hot Henry, hasn't it?
Henry.
You opened the episode declaring yourself Hot Henry.
Well,
ever so modest, ever so level-headed, but you are beautiful.
Thank you.
Hot Henry needs to be included in your review. As always, make sure it's 5 stars, LA Galaxy style. And every person who leaves a review with the words Hot Henry will be entered into a draw to win a MLS jersey of your choice from soccer90.com, our very, very lovely and kind sponsors.
Right, shall we do Game of the Change Your Name? Shall we round things up?
Yeah, big reveal. So this is where we give you the career path of a player who's played in the UK and in MLS, and you've got to work out who it is. So I told you this week's player started their career at FC Dallas in 2008. They were there for 4 years. They played 98 times and scored 19 goals. They went on to play for Stoke City, Barnsley and Birmingham, and then moved back to MLS, where they've played for a trio of rivals.
2 of those rivals get supported by presenters of the MLS UK show.
They are indeed.
And then is the other team Inter Miami?
They are Miami, yes.
Is it Breck Shea?
It's Breck Shea, the interesting character that is Breck Shea. Yeah, of course, played for Vancouver as well, 53 appearances. So he's played more for Vancouver than Orlando, and of course, more than he played for Atlanta and Miami. And 34 appearances for the US national team as well.
There you go. Well done. If you got that right, we'll do another one on the next episode. So that's it from us. Thanks for sticking with us. Apologies if you've watched us sweat for the last hour or so. Hopefully next episode it'll be a lot cooler. We're now off to cool ourselves down outside of this studio.
Very much. From a very, very sweaty Elliot Holman, it's goodbye.
And from a hot Henry, see ya.